My God, as we are now in our 10th year as the Squirm unit, it's time that we finally did this. One of Disney's greatest classics, in fact, one of their most well protected classics, Sleeping Beauty, to commemorate how nearly 10 years ago we looked at a let's call it a remake that hopefully we'll never have to deal with ever again in our lives. So then, audience, without further ado, why don't we step down to...
Well, actually, Drova, you gave me an idea because, technically speaking, the first time we did this was, in general, we did this. It was just a few of us, and it was not that particularly great. Then we did it again in 2019, and while it was technically better, it was still not a complete job, and I tried to listen it again, and it wasn't that fabulous. So you know what? This gives me the idea. Why don't we do Maleficent for third and hopefully final time, so we can put this thing to rest, even if it's a third occasion. Yeah, for the reference audience, this is technically the first time when we do this kind of thing, and I can only hope this is just a few very selected kind of cases because it's already a thing for generations, but this is more of a unique case more than anything. Because Maleficent was technically, as Jova noted, the second movie that we ever commented upon, and predictably, it wasn't particularly great, mostly done to do hype, so to speak. Even the thumbnail that I did was not particularly great. Again, for a movie that is basically about the hardships of a character and how basically everyone else is kind of an asshole towards her, basically slut shaming her in the thumbnail was possibly the lowest punch I could have thrown at the movie.
Which, don't get me wrong, the movie is awful, but we have wizened with age. Nevertheless...
Well, regardless, the point is that, so basically, audience, this is an occasion for us to finally, properly have a close to a full-on commentary on Maleficent with almost full team. Lives opted out because he reputed that, he had enough to say, but we finally brought Shiro in, since,
I've heard this movie's hilarious, personally.
And also, we have Deji, just because he hasn't seen the movie, and, why might as well give him a bit of fun for, an April Fool's kind of video. So anyway, audience, more technical details as the movie starts. We have a black screen, a few seconds, like 2 seconds of black screen, before the back then Disney logo. I don't know what kind of era can be described as. If you see me on Disney Plus, you're probably starting with said logo, so maybe just wait a few seconds after we say click. So let's start properly in 3, 2, 1, click.
You saw the original. You saw the Generations commentary. Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first ever Squirm Triple Trouble commentary.
But I thought you already did Sonic Triple Trouble.
That's not what he means.
Also, that game is at least decent.
I'm just trying to...
Also the 16-bit version, I
Also,
suppose.
I want to talk about something, by the way, regarding this movie. The woman who wrote it, Linda Wolverton.
Oh, Linda.
She rose up to popularity in the animation by being the script writer for Beauty and the Beast, the 1991 Beauty and the Beast movie, not the remake. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Let's listen to this.
So basically, this is an origin story for the character of the Mistress of All Evil.
Because that's what I wanted, an origin story for Maleficent.
Okay.
I don't know. I think there is potential in saying the world of Sleeping Beauty being a fantasy and everything has potential for being rich in telling stuff. It's just that the Disney curse of not doing a good fantasy movie continues with this one.
Okay. A bit of backstory here. Back when this movie was first advertised, people were excited because at the time, it was being advertised as a look into Maleficent, the mistress of all evil, one of Disney's most vilest characters, essentially Sleeping Beauty being done from her perspective. And so we thought we'd get to see what it was like from the perspective of the villain. What we actually got is, well... again, technically one of the Disney live-action remakes, but done so badly.
The sad part is that I would actually have preferred a more straightforward Beauty and the Beast style remake over what they ended up with this, honestly.
Oh,
because
absolutely. I agree.
If this was their idea of quote unquote doing something creative, then in that case, never mind. Go back to just remaking it like it was.
So the director is Robert Stromberg. Let me see what else he did. Oh, speaking of which, instead, yeah, here's the first problem that everybody who has seen this movie noted: having the character being called Maleficent from birth.
And she was a good guy.
That raised the question: what kind of cultural family would call, Maleficent?
Maleficent literally means evil.
It would have made so much more sense for if it is a story, origin story about her becoming evil. A nickname, proper name that she chooses. In allegiance with her morality. It kind of will make sense. Here just it kind of feels fanficky, those kind of gritty reboot. We've mentioned this in a different context, but those gritty reboots that have the character still being called like in the original source material, but it just doesn't make any sense and it feels more goofy, for lack of a better term.
I can answer that. There are so many people. There are people that name their children Damien.
Oh, come on, Deds. Though Damien was a good thing beforehand.
Damien
Also,
means devil,
boy,
or son of the devil.
Flora, the free fairies are possibly the most butchered thing from the original that they did in this movie. They are here just for very cringy comic relief. They are not really funny. Their high-pitched voice are a waste of the actress's talent, and sometimes the CGI also goes into a bit of uncanny valley creepiness, that it was custom for something that aged.
Remember, Sarah, how charming and funny in quirky grandma type of way the godmother.
Yeah, they were kind of girl failures, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, forget that. In here, they're annoying as fuck.
Not only that, but when you think about it, they were kind of the heroines of Sleeping Beauty when you get down to it.
I mean, when you actually get down to it, Jova, Sleeping Beauty is a contest between the good fairies and Maleficent. The prince and the princess are just pawns in their chess game when you get right down to it.
I suppose a bit of backstory regarding the Sleeping Beauty film is necessary. Sleeping Beauty was definitely one of Disney's pride and joys at the time, and it was heavily protected to the point where that thing didn't get a sequel until that god-awful Disney princess short thing, which we may or may not talk about, and... Oh, this character.
This is Stefan, by the way. Yes,
that's King Stefan, Shiroi, Aurora's father.
Again, we basically go through fanfic territory and said that Maleficent and Stefan knew each other since we were childhood friends. And don't worry, this goes horribly.
Yeah, because this totally fits with the original film. Right?
Also,
again, it's technically in a vacuum. I don't see it technically as a big problem, but when you know the context of the original, it just feels again fanficky.
Okay, let me pretty much point out the major issue with this film and why a lot of people hate it. It goes to the same school of thought as the Cruella movie, ergo, let's take an incredibly vile villain and try to make them more sympathetic by warping the story immensely. Now, to be fair, recontextualizations of famous tales are not unheard of. Heck, Disney's own series Once Upon a Time really does play along with the morality of, hey, which people are the actual heroes and who are the villains?
Yeah, that also goes in fanficky territory, because if I recall correctly, I think it's like the protagonist is revealing the third movie to be like Hades and Maleficent's daughter.
No. That's Disney Descendants you're thinking of. Once Upon a Time is completely different. And yes, Disney's...
Once Upon a Time is a show made by the creators of Lost.
People like one of those two things.
I'm not sure if I'm selling you on that concept alone.
Descendants sucks. Once Upon a Time was a thing people liked at some point before it got overly convoluted, but we're not here to talk about that. Again, my point is, the idea of recontextualizing a story where someone who is typically seen as... iron.
This is important. Classic Fey folk, if you don't know about it, metal, generally iron, but in generally metal, is basically the kryptonite of the Fey folk.
Is that why fairy types are weak to steel?
Can I ask something, by the way? So supposedly Maleficent is a fairy just like the other fairies we saw. And yet she
Yeah.
looks like a demon. Like,
Well,
why does she look so different than all the other fairies? She looks like
I want to-
Biblically accurate fairy.
Okay, not just that. That's funny, but if it was a thing where fairies had different appearances, and this was just maybe a type of a clan that lives there, honestly, it would just be a good suspension of disbelief. But
Yeah.
Maleficent is literally the only fairy that looks like this in the entire community that she lives in.
Except for the sequel.
yeah, I was about to say until the
I
sequel.
still have
but-
to see Mistress of
Oh yeah, but we're not there yet, though. Like, we're not there yet.
But yes, Maleficent and Stefan bonded. They had such good
But
fun.
since
Okay,
Blizz mentioned,
now-
since Blizz mentioned in one of the original commentaries, I might as well mention it here. Yeah, the score is done by James Newton Howard, but it's nothing that you will remember. Once again, it's not a thing that I think it's atrocious or unfitting.
No.
It's just very unmemorable.
Around this time, James Newton Howard kind of went through his mediocre period.
Which is, however, kind of a big
Yeah.
problem because, give me a second, Edge. It's a big of a problem because the score of Sleeping Beauty is possibly being a ballet. It's actually one of the more memorable things of the product.
To be fair to this movie, Teo, that movie kind of cheated by using pre-existing classical
They
music.
could have done the same here.
Yeah, true.
And
Is
yes,
this
Yes,
movie a
that's-
cuck arc?
No, don't worry. Well, okay.
the
Yes
answer.
and no.
Yeah,
But
yes.
Let me say this, however. I forgot. I genuinely forgot if I mentioned in the original commentary, but I will say this: words and all of this movie, I will defend to death the casting of Angelina Jolie as Maleficent. She's absolutely the person that I would have think of for a live action version of the character.
No, Jolie is not the problem. No, obviously.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, I will say this also. You may notice Maleficent sports wings when she definitely did not in the original. That is a plot point as well.
It's an actual plot point.
We're going to explain that. See, okay, my big problem already with this entire idea is by making Maleficent a good character that fell into the forces of evil. Now, it really does make, and the fact that she was apparently, wrong, done wrong by people, and as a result, this kind of basically makes things really hard to stomach with the original movie.
Also,
I love
Because
how you
you're
almost.
telling me. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was about to say. I love how you almost said Crow because the same problem applies there. Go on.
Yeah, I'm trying my best not to. But the point is, remember, in the original movie, Maleficent has the exact same motivation as the witch from the original fairy tale. She curses Aurora because she was not invited to the party. That's
yes,
it.
it was a petty reason, sure, but it pretty feels justifiable for a fairy tale.
It highlighted her character as an evil, an evil person who's just very petty, because she's rotten, she's mean, she's just not.
Oh boy, this.
By this now, with this, this is going to basically recontextualize it so that turns out Maleficent was just taking revenge on the humans, apparently.
Yeah, speaking of this, I think sure I bitched about it in the first generation. Let me tell you, because this is kind of what I wanted in a movie about fantasy again. Another occasion about the Muggle power trope, where in this case, the king that was from the kingdom before Stefan is a racist asshole that wants to eradicate, the Fae folk. Look, story-wise, I think it perfectly kind of makes sense in how it's constructed, but it is still so annoying.
Mommy, I want Lord of the Rings. We have Lord of the Rings at home, honey.
Actually, this is Narnia.
But
I mean, Narnia was also Disney's thing, so that would kind of defeat the
Fox,
purpose.
technically.
To give him some credit, James Newton Howard's Raya and the Last Dragon score was actually a really good return to form for him.
Also, did you remember Disney owned Narnia before Fox bought it, and then Disney got it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, to her credit,
They should try doing that again. Make it a Disney Plus show.
to her credit, Angelina Jolie delivers 110% on this role.
Oh no!
And I remember
like
from
said,
interviews
Angela-
that she said she actually enjoyed, being casted in the movie and everything. So there is that.
It's like I've said in previous movies we've done with her, like Salt, for example. Like Salt's the same thing. Angelina is not the problem in that movie. The problem is the script. Same thing here.
Like I said, Lord of the Rings at home.
Yeah, basically.
So yeah, the plot kicks off with, again, a Lord of the Rings battle. Which, okay, not the worst
sure.
terrible idea here, but I'm gonna say this, now that enough time has passed, like, hell, 10 years since, yeah, I think if I recall correctly, we're commentating on this in time for this movie's 10th anniversary, more or less.
Yeah,
but...
so these actually, it's a good say. With a budget of 180 slash 263 million and a recouping of 758.5 million.
If I remember correctly,
technically still a decent enough of a success.
If I remember correctly, was this like one of the, if not the first movie commentary we ever did?
Second, like you
Second
mentioned.
one.
The first was Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay, it's been long enough for me to say this. I will definitely say that Maleficent was a turn for the worst in a lot of Disney, and heck, arguably even the movie industry's problems as a whole. I will argue it was the start of what people like to refer as the girl boss era. It was also the start of fairy tales suddenly starting to have to be super complex and not being simplistic lest they be referred to as old, outdated, or sexist. And since this was riding off the coattails of Frozen, which made Disney a buttload of money, yeah, it pretty much takes some plot points exactly from Frozen, and again, more so after this, but technically also after Frozen.
Well,
also some of the consequences of that, but more for the end.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
To be fair to this movie, by the time Frozen came out, the script for this movie was already finished.
Pedro,
I mean, check actually the development.
Yes.
Admittedly, this came out a whole year after Frozen, though. There was time for them to edit certain scenes, and I'm sorry, that one scene near the end of the movie, you will not be able to convince me that they weren't inspired by Frozen by that. Also,
well, it is mentioned. Also, yes, it's worth mentioning here. Stefan, which is now the caretaker of the king, is now played by Sharto Copley. Now look, I get to see the rest of Liam Blomkamp movies like the rest of the others did, so I don't know how he is in stuff like, say, District 9. I've seen, however, stuff like the 2013 Spike Lee's version of Oldboy, and I can tell you that my experience with Sharto Copley told me that he's not really good at acting as far as I've seen. I sure hope he has a good performance at some point.
Sharto Copley's acting method, if I should say, basically amounts to screaming like a madman. That's basically his.
So the Red Brown method.
Let me put it like this.
Okay.
Probably his best movie is Elysium, also what I argue to be Neil Blomkamp's best movie. But how sad is it that this will probably be the most famous movie that Sharto Copley has ever starred in? Because he is not really in a lot
like
of...
You said, Drova, like you said, Drova, I keep hearing, because I still have to see the movie, and at some point I probably will have to do it. But I keep hearing that people genuinely like District 9, and people.
They do.
My point is that that seems to be actually the most famous movie starred in.
Let me give you the basic crash course. Okay, after this scene though, because it's kind of important.
Well, you can tell me after the commentary anyway.
The thing with District 9 is...
There's going to be a lot of nothing scenes. I'll have plenty of time. Go on, Jova.
The thing with District 9 is, yes, it's well-liked, but would I call it popular or well-known or particularly famous? No. Even District 9, arguably Blomkamp's most liked movie, is not exactly, what I would call common knowledge.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
okay,
God,
this scene... I'll have to recap when Shiri comes back, but basically, yeah. I guess back then it kind of makes sense. This movie, by the way, as we mentioned, started being development in 2003. Of all things, it took 9 years to be made. Actually,
Really?
apparently it was originally an idea of Don. Apparently, it was originally an idea of Don Hahn. He's meeting with the Disney Animation Department in 2003.
That would
But
actually
yeah,
make sense.
The king on his dying bed has offered a bounty on who brings Maleficent's head. And Stefan took this opportunity of her being his childhood friend to roofie her and, yeah.
Rape
Friend,
allegory.
childhood lovers, because they even kissed earlier in the month.
Okay.
True, they had a thing.
Now, to be fair, specifically the king said, bring me her wings. So what Stefan is about to do is interesting, because he can't actually bring himself to kill her. Now, as I pointed out during our Generations commentary, and as I will point out when we get to the point where it's most pivotal, there was a potential chance for Stefan to come out of this maybe not looking great, but having an ulterior motive rather than him just being a psychotic madman of a bad guy.
Because basically the entire point, the story makes Maleficent more sympathetic and good, but in doing so, it turns actually Stefan, a character who really had only the fault of being having a bit of a hubris in the original movie, to be basically an opportunistic, angry power asshole who literally cripples what is actually the love of his life.
Also, how did she not feel her wings getting cut off while asleep? Like, I mean, I'm sure the pain should have woken her up at that point.
Now, again, I don't think I mentioned this in Generation. I will say this. I understand. I still, however, after all these years, I understand actually what the scenes want to convey. And Dre's performance perfectly understand. Gives away the concept of the loss that actually Maleficent has actually been subjected to.
See.
And I just want you to keep in mind that shot that shows that Stefan clearly regrets his actions. Remember that, because the movie sure as hell doesn't want you to remember that by the end.
This movie is basically taking a giant dump in the original movie.
Yeah, again, who was asking for Stefan to be the bad guy?
Okay, and
it's like I've heard people joke online. This is Sleeping Beauty, the feminist revision version.
Which, okay, yeah, we gotta talk about the whole girl boss era thing. The problem people have with the girl boss type of film is it runs off the idea that women can only be cool, stoic, must be triumphant over everything, and damn what the men say. Except for the men who absolutely get in line with everything they say, regardless of the potential consequences here and there. As a result, well, a lot of classical fairy tales suddenly have to be revised so that, oh no, actually the women are the ones who are doing it, and the men are just chauvinistic pigs who assume that they are always in the right here or there. Again, this may not have all of those things to a T, but this is definitely where I would say Hollywood got that idea that this is what was in now. Didn't help that this did make, again, enough money. Oh yeah, and by the way, in case you're wondering where Maleficent got her staff, boom. I guess she put her power into a stick.
Well,
she just casually picked up a stick and it transformed because reasons.
Well, okay, I can understand to some degree because, a wizard staff, while being a catalyst, when you can think about it in imagery, it serves to do the purpose that exactly a stick will do. Something an old person will have to need as an aid for walking. In this case, Maleficent has lost actually her balance due to loss of her wing, so she does need an aid. I can see the thought process.
So the issue is, if you'll recall the original, you'll know that Maleficent can frickin' teleport. And that's not even just an animated exclusive thing. We will see later, she can still teleport. So you're telling me she can do all these abilities, but there's not a spell to regrow them wings.
Or use a pair of energy wands, I don't know.
Basically. There's also...
Oh, you want her to be like Koya from IDW TMNT?
I'll take your word on that, Dej.
Yeah, because she's like... I think Leo clipped her wings, and then she got spiritual energy and just got new wings out of that.
Also, I think that this area is supposed to be an allegory for the Forbidden Mountains from the original.
Yes, but don't get too excited in seeing her minions, Maleficent minions in this, because they're not here.
But
The other problem with this movie is... go ahead, Theo. Recap for Shiroi, please.
Thank you.
Basically, Shiroi, the old king was dying because of a battle. He offered a bounty on top of for Maleficent's wings. Stefan, which was his caretaker, took advantage of that, convinced Maleficent to have a night date, roofied her, and then cut her wings in her sleep.
Which absolutely contradicts the notion that they were good friends, but...
Also, this is instead, we have origin story for Diablo, or in this case I think it's called differently, Maleficent's pet, Raven. There you go, Diaval, played by Zin's version by Sam Riley.
It's almost like they didn't want to call him Diablo because, again, that would imply that Maleficent's evil. But yes, well, why does he turn into a handsome boy? Twilight was big at the time. It's literally 2014, right off the coattails of Twilight. You ain't fooling anyone.
Yeah, and basically, Shiroi, like Jova was explaining shortly before, this is one of those movies that operates on the girl boss mentality that all the men are chauvinistic pigs, and the only way a woman can be strong and is by being super stoic and what was the word you used, Jova?
Stoic, pretty much unconquerable, pretty much would always be in the right. The reason I point this out is that this is taking a hatchet not just to the Disney classic, but the fairy tale as a whole, which really, really has to bend over backwards to justify Maleficent being the good guy, instead of just...
Stefan, of all people, to be the bad guy.
So remember how in the original film, Maleficent cursed Aurora just because she's a petty bitch, all because she wasn't invited to the party? No, it turns out it's apparently revenge for Stefan betraying her and cutting her wings.
And again, the movie made a good point in showcasing, the actual horror that Stefan inflicted, upon Maleficent. So, the viewer understands what kind of revenge, for Harry is. The problem is, again, the context of the original compared to this.
And another thing to keep in mind is that Stefan clearly did not like doing any of this. And another thing to know is that based off of how the film goes...
Yes, I saw Return of the King movie.
Yeah.
Because, so to recap, Shiroi, we have a movie that's trying to make Maleficent sympathetic and trying to make Aurora's dad into an asshole.
Okay,
there you go.
Okay, the thing is, if you wanted to give
Maleficent... maybe he should have invited her. I'm joking.
And the thing is, this was also the start of another problem of Disney. Disney becoming afraid to have villain protagonists or full-on villains. Again, stuff like we'd see would culminate in stuff like Artemis Fowl, which is supposed to be a villain protagonist, suddenly turned into a generic hero. And, Maleficent curses her own forest. Now I know
it took until Wish for us to finally get a straightforward Disney villain again.
And even that one had a few issues, but that is neither here nor there. But yeah, Maleficent, you're destroying your own forest. You're doing what the evil king tried to do, essentially, because,
the others were kind of assholes towards her when she was a child, ?
Yeah, why do the fairies suffer for this? Don't make any
just
sense.
Because I don't mention it, don't think I haven't forgot about the stupid potty humor that these side characters did at the beginning.
Yeah, that too.
Oops, I forgot about this.
Anyway, I want to talk about Shiroi, the writer of this movie, Linda Wolverton. You don't know her name probably, but you know her work. 1991's Beauty and the Beast. Yes, the original animated classic. She wrote that movie, and she also wrote. She was one of the writers of the original Lion King movie as well. However, she also wrote a movie that you are familiar with, the 2010 live-action Alice in Wonderland movie. The Johnny Depp one.
The one that's just kind of there and existing.
Also its sequence through the Looking Glass.
She wrote this one.
She did also do the Broadway musicals for Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, I believe, as well.
Yeah. Guess what? She was also a TV writer here and there. She wrote 2 episodes of the 1980s MLP cartoon. There's a little trivia for you. She wrote this movie, Shiroi, and she's still around. In fact, Shiroi, guess what? The woman, oh god, sorry.
Okay.
The new animation studio, Skydance Animation, that's being helmed by John Lasseter. She's writing the first ever musical animated movie that even has Alan Menken music in it called Spellbound. So she's writing a new movie for that studio.
Okay, so I want you to keep in mind what is going on here, because the thing about the movie is, for all his faults, it's kind of implied that Stefan becoming king did help make the land better. How much better? Well, to the point where now fairies are communing with humans just fine.
Yeah, because Stefan ideally removed, stopped the racism towards the Fae folk, possibly as a twisted kind of sense of trying to beg for forgiveness to Maleficent.
The problem I have with this is that Stefan does not feel like a genuine villain. He feels arbitrary when he is forced
and again,
to be in the villain suit.
Charlton Copley's delivering certainly does not help.
Not just that. No, I'm sorry. No, those are not your names. Fuck off.
Oh yeah, by the way, that's Imelda Stratton as the lead fairy, aka Dolores Umbridge.
I mean, I guess I should be grateful that they're making sure that we know that they're different fairies and they're not remade versions of the originals to the point where they even have different names. I guess I should be grateful for that, but still.
And
Why are they so tiny?
The answer to your question, Deji, is that, being more traditional type of fairies, I guess they want to take into account their dimension. And to be fair, even in the original, they could, shift their sizes to their own whims.
Anyway,
two things.
Yes, Siri?
About what Jova said, it's like it probably wasn't on purpose, but it's funny that the one who was Umbridge is wearing the pinkish red outfit going on here.
I would not be surprised if that was intentional. And yes, here she is, fully decked out in costume. And it's not.
And also the other thing, very quick, the movie kind of I know it was kind of intentional for this scene, but everything leading up to here, you know what I miss about these Disney remakes that were everywhere in the originals? Color.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's not Man of Steel level of desaturation, but look around.
It's like one thing that I'm also I don't hear anybody bring up regarding this movie is that Angelina Jolie is great casting. No, let's get no. I'm more concerned with the costume design, though. I don't think whoever did the costume design did a good job translating the outfit into live action. Honestly. It looks like a cosplay outfit. It doesn't look like a real budgeted outfit, honestly. It looks like something you'd find in a cosplay convention.
Also, see, guys, now the scene in the original where Stefan told her she wasn't welcome as a new context to it.
Also, couldn't you paint her face green? She's supposed to have green skin.
I'll admit, I complained about the lack of green skin in our original commentary. I'm not as broken up about it now, I guess, in their new vision and way to diversify this or that. Differentiate this from the original, maybe, sure. But yeah, this scene is, for the most part, line for line that from the original. Except when they change stuff up to, again, facilitate Maleficent being likable, because...
Yeah, listen closely to her wording.
I just want to say this, though. Our hero, everyone, a woman's, again, willing to curse a child. Yes, what her father did was terrible, but again, cursing a child still.
Gee, it's like what they were doing in the first 20 minutes contradicts the original story or something.
Are you telling me that being held bound by revenge is actually makes her look bad?
Dej, that would be fine if the movie did not expect us to root for her, because it does.
That's the problem.
Oh,
yeah,
here we go.
She gets an inspiration from a random spinning wheel present in the court.
That
You
kind
cut
of
off my
takes
wings, and that You cut off my wings, and that means I'm justified in taking it out on your child who has no blame in anything.
Okay, here we go.
Well, you know, sense of the
Listen
father
to
and all
it.
that.
And she will die, right? Oh! No! Fall into a sleep-like death.
Now, it is true, however, that some versions of the story specify this rather than just straight up
true.
say that she dies, but it feels very convenient.
Okay. To be fair, I can. Okay, again, I don't like giving this movie credit, but I can kind of understand the logic in this specific detail. Think about it from Maleficent's perspective. Instead of just killing her and be done with it, they have to watch her be alive and sleeping all of it. Like, so basically, it creates a whole level of eternal torture for them, where they like, if she just killed the daughter, that would be it. That's it. Like, it would be a horrible thing, but it would be done with it. But
this is actually what she and basically, instead of, sorry, Pedro, you to mention, instead of the three fairies put in the clause, it's Maleficent herself who does it, just because she had a dominatrix moment with Stefan.
Yeah, again, keep in mind,
fucking brilliant.
Keep in mind, Stefan technically did not have to bow to her, but he still did it for the good of his child. Again, almost like he's a layered character and not just a 2-bit villain. Sure would be a shame if the movie tried to suddenly make him a 2-bit mustache-twirling villain.
See, I was trying to give it credit for. Okay, I can understand the logic of putting her to sleep eternally instead of killing her immediately, because that way you get to see the kingdom be tortured and have to see this permanently and forever. Like, the torture will never end. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to take away that credit now, because she now says, oh, and the curse can only be broken with true love's kiss. Now, I get what what Linda Wolverton is going for. Don't you see? She has to get true love, the same true love that she never got from Stefan. I understand what they're doing with that. Problem is, from a logical perspective, it makes no sense for Maleficent to put in a way to break her own curse, which is why in the original film, it's Merryweather that creates that counter spell.
Oh, by the way, don't get too again, everything that everyone memed. Don't get too attached to Stefan's wife, Aurora's mother, because she's only there for that scene, if I recall correctly, maybe a small appearance later, and then she dies off screen.
Oh yeah, and by the way, the thorn thicket that shows up at the climax, here it is already, because that was in the original.
Let me put it this way: the way that this movie is put together operates somewhat on Makoto Shinkai logic, where it's more about the themes, guys, but the themes, and logic be damned. Yeah. The thing is, again, you need a good balance, a healthy balance of logic and themes to make your story work. You can't just forgo one over the other. They both need to be in a healthy balance.
Also, I want to point out with these fairies, their alignment shifts around here, because keep in mind, despite supposedly humans being the bad guys, the fairies are helping humans, so like, again, are we supposed to be rooting for Maleficent? Well, of course we are. That's why they made the free fairies absolutely awful.
I know, not just that, they're made them so completely idiotic. This is pure, unalterated frandarization. To the point of this, if I remember correctly, it's right in this moment. In the original, story, they managed to have Aurora Eden for almost, not all, but almost 2 decades. And it was only for a simple, admittedly stupid, but a simple mistake at the end that Diablo casually noticed what was going on in for Maleficent. In here, Maleficent immediately discovers the location. Like, immediately.
Also, Esther and Maleficent...
So, movie over, then?
Yeah, I mean, hey, she's got the child. She could kill her.
And then Maleficent kills Aurora. The end.
No, worse, she's gonna call Brad Pitt and adopt her.
Oh, God. It's Angelina Jolie, so that could actually happen.
It's funny. Apparently, when she
gives her a nickname, Beastie.
Get it? Because Linda Wolverton wrote Beauty and the Beast.
I was gonna say that when she first dressed up as Maleficent, apparently kids were crying because they were afraid of Angelina Jolie.
I think her own daughter actually cried. One of her many daughters.
So yeah,
that's funny.
Instead of actually seeing, even if we don't have to, maybe a montage. Instead of having actually the fairies being potentially competent, surrogate figures, we had to have this as an excuse for Maleficent to learn how to be a proper good parent for Aurora, like she's her own daughter.
Yeah.
This not just that, Dej. Again, it gets worse. Remember, Aurora's biological mother has almost no agency, nor factors anything into this story, which is immensely fucked up, especially considering the movie does want to actually try to portray this girl boss type of mentality, except in case of Aurora's mother. Fuck her, I guess.
Yeah, so here's the deal.
her mom didn't really play anything in the actual story. So
but the original was not. Yeah, but the original was not positioning itself as the super duper one with much better female character writing.
All right. I guess now's a good time to mention. Back when Sleeping Beauty first came out, it was a big financial hit. But there were some criticisms of it, even back in the day, about how, Aurora did not really get much agency in her own movie, and how, unfortunately...
Again, it's noted by everyone, both her and, the prince, actually, stop actually talking at the 2/3 mark of a movie.
Yeah.
And not only that, also how some people did find that it took a lot of cues from Disney's own Snow White in some regards here and there, so...
Yeah, which by the 1950s was already kind of outdated, even.
Yeah, that is always an ironic thing, that one of Disney's biggest bailments was the fact that they were constantly being compared to their first big classic, Snow White. So, to be fair, like I said, there was merit for a remake of Sleeping Beauty, even if it was done via, say, the likes of, Maleficent. I'll look through it. And maybe we could have given some characters more agency.
I'm watching a crappy spin-off of...
It's not!
So, the deal is... Sorry. So, on the one hand, they will try to give Aurora more agency. That's its own issue here and there. But again, the mother doesn't really... Actually, the mother gets arguably even less to do in this movie than she did in the original. How amazing is that? For trying to be all a female empowerment, you degraded one of the main female characters even more than the movie back in the 50s. Well done, sirs. Well done.
That's sad.
Look, seriously, that thing with the godmothers, it's like I'm watching a crappy spin-off of Hocus Pocus. Okay. See, here's the thing about the original film. The original film was, when you break it down, it's basically a chess game between the good fairies and the evil fairy, Maleficent, right? Mm-hmm. The princess and the prince are just pawns on the board. That's all. When you get right down to it, that's basically, it's literally a fight between good and evil. The good fairies and Maleficent. That's basically what that movie is.
I love that.
The kings are also pawns when you get right down to it. That's all it is, really.
I love that one line where, Flora says, "Oh, well, you see, dearie, our magic can't be used to actually kill someone." Then by the end, literally enchants Philip's sword to kill Maleficent for good.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But I digress.
See, the thing about the original film, everybody, yes, when you look at it with 2024 lenses and standards, obviously it's not a good movie. It doesn't work on a good amount of levels. But people still love that movie because even though it's kind of like, again, Snow White, which the movie also took a lot of it. Much like Snow White, it's a movie that the people recognize, it's technically not a good movie, but it's incredibly entertaining and charming, so people forgive it for that.
Not only that, it has legit some of Disney's most badass work. Not just in story, but also the technology that at the time was incredibly new. Like, that movie was legit their most expensive project at the time, and the only reason it was considered a bomb was because it cost so much, because it was legit the second highest grossing film of the year it came out. By the way,
what was the first?
I can't recall, honestly. Also, Aurora could legit die right here.
Again, they want to portray the fact that the three fairies are terrible at parenting, which, again, it's standardization. Yes, they were not perfect in the original, but they were not really this moronic incompetent. Why would you do this?
Again, Again, it's
wait. I thought we were doing the girl boss thing. So how come these 3 women are idiots?
Well, you see, Pedro, one aspect of the girl boss stuff is to show the females that aren't with the program, and therefore clearly are letting the men order them around, and thus they are the dumb ones for it.
So, and with any logic. Got it.
Oh, God. I have heard things about that from you and Shiroi.
So let me put it this way: that movie literally positions women who want to be housewives as "quote unquote" part of a problem, and that's all. That's all I'll say for now.
Also, Aurora.
Sorry, not that movie. Sorry, that show. Sorry, that show.
Go away.
Also, Jova, I looked it up. Maleficent was the 4th highest grossing movie.
No, Dej, I'm talking about the original Sleeping Beauty the year it came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta talk about the horn piece. If I recall correctly, Maleficent's horns were a bit curved, but they weren't curled corkscrewish like the helmet does, so how do her horns fit into that?
I guess they wanted to... Sorry, go on.
Not just that. Why is her outfit different now?
Well, Pedro, it's Angelina Jolie. We gotta give her a wardrobe.
Also, merchandising, probably.
But Maleficent has a trademark look. It make
her look fabulous. You were saying.
There's also the fact that we have seen again. The more important stuff is from the original is that the horns were more like in terms of kind of a block. Well, in this case, we have a scale like textures, probably to reference the fact that she can potentially turn into a dragon, and we will see later how that happens technically. But.
Also,
all right, let me check because it's right now time to check who adult Aurora is played by.
Actually, I know who it is. Elle Fanning. Elle Fanning is one of the more promising. She's actually the younger sister of Dakota Fanning. Actually, she was in Super 8, which is my favorite J.J. Abrams movie, and she's going to be in the upcoming Death Stranding 2. Yes, not just voice-wise, like the character is modeled after her. So she's going to be in that. She's also doing the mocap and everything. So she is going to be in Death Stranding 2 in every sense of the word.
That's
she just like her sister. Elle Fanning is a very promising young actress too. That's all I need to know.
That said, I'm a bit confused by Elle Fanning's casting as Aurora. For all Aurora's faults, a lot of people sometimes think she's the leader of the Disney princesses because she is the tallest of them. Elle's pretty short. She doesn't really look much like Aurora either.
Also, in the meantime, Stefan has turned into the old Iron King from Dark Souls 2 because in order to actually amass something against the Fey folk, he literally metallized everything in his kingdom.
Also, irony, the soldiers just know her as the peasant girl. They don't know that that's actually the princess.
That's because apparently, again, like 16 years have passed or something. I forgot exactly how much.
Also, Maleficent can just do that. But it's time for an action scene.
That's perfectly plausible, to be fair. So there you go, Shiroi. This is what quote-unquote Maleficent is now about. The good fairies suck shit at taking care of Aurora, so Maleficent has to play nanny, basically.
I mean, they weren't great at doing it anyway. They were kind of tasked with it under circumstances.
Yes, but Shiroi, from a much better movie would say, you're alive. From that show that I like, she's alive by the end, isn't she?
Okay,
so
I will.
My point is that the good fairies, while not perfect, they still managed to raise her fine. And not to mention, who the hell wants a Maleficent movie where she's Aurora's nanny? That makes
she learns how to be a single parent.
Oh, Pedro, it gets even better when you actually see what Aurora refers to her as. But anyway, it's time for an action scene to show just how awesome Maleficent is. And as you may have noticed, she turns Diavel, the crow, into different animals. I do like that little detail that whatever thing she turns him into, he does still show crow features, even though that will bite the movie in the ass again during the climax, but that is way later down the road.
Not to mention, again, another thing that contradicts the original film. If the crow was actually can turn into a human, how come we never saw this in the original film? Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's how it works.
If I was a Disney executive in 2013 and Linda presented this script to me, I'd throw the script in her face. Are you trying to destroy my reputation?
Okay.
Let me say the producers of this.
The very idea of this plot is so stupid. I cannot believe it went past any sort of rough draft.
Okay, and you know the scummy thing is that this is not how they actually advertised the movie. The movie was
I can see why, because this was produced. It only has one single producer, Joe Roth, which has been a producer for, among other things, Snow White and the Huntsman, and Oz the Great and Powerful, and the aforementioned 2010 Alice in Wonderland.
That explains it.
Yeah, even if I like some of those movies, this definitely gives.
I was mentioning towards the beginning, the director, Robert Stromberg, doesn't seem to have it's not reported that much in terms of his career, but apparently he worked, as a support for stuff like James Cameron's Avatar and also Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. And this was his directorial debut.
That would fit, because this scene feels like it was ripped out of Avatar.
That's the thing, though. I noticed also before, I just didn't mention because there was stuff we were talking about. But the movie, if you paid attention, has a lot of, zoom in, zoom outs, and rapid movement that makes it look an episode of The Office. Oh, look, the whimsy.
The CGI.
Totally earned. Okay, I will say this. Aside from the uncanny valley factor of the three fairies when they're small, the rest of the CGI so far has been fine for 2014.
This movie is trying to channel the whole Avatar whimsy thing. James Cameron's Avatar, I mean, not. Yeah, and again, they also try to give Aurora a bit more personality in comparison to the original film by having her have a dynamic with Maleficent, basically.
It's not like we could have fleshed out her relationship with the prince.
Yeah,
which, admittedly, they do in the sequel, but
I mean, the Cinderella remake did that.
Okay, the Cinderella remake came out after this, I think.
2015,
oh,
I think.
God, when you think about it, that means this was... Well, okay, unless we count Alice in Wonderland, this was the start of the Disney remake trend, even though this technically isn't a remake.
101 Dalmatian at the end of the 90s was the first.
No. Well, I'm specifically talking about the trend and era.
Yeah, but, the one that set the trend.
Here we go. How observant.
Bird up. Get it? Because Zazu did it.
Also, let me get this straight. So you'll change his name from Diablo, but you'll keep Maleficent's name the same. Well, I mean, okay, I get why, but...
Brand name.
But it really just show, why not just keep it as Diablo? If anything, show that...
it really would have fit so much better as a new name that she takes after a traumatic experience.
Also, why does Maleficent's magic look like Peter Pan
fairy dust?
To show that she still has good in her, I guess.
But her magic is supposed to be green fire.
Also,
which we actually saw towards the start, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I don't...
Okay, it's almost like the movie. It's almost like the movie is playing fast and loose with how evil Maleficent actually is, and
we need the iconography, but at the same time, we cannot allow ourselves to make her too evil.
Okay, here's my biggest frustration. If they were at the very least honest that yes, this is going to be a change to the story, I still would not have liked it. But at least it would have felt earned. But no, they lied in advertising about this movie. They made it seem like we were still going to have Maleficent as the bad guy, just Sleeping Beauty from her perspective, essentially. But that is not what we got. Oh, yeah.
Go on.
In regards to how little...
plot point.
Right, in regards to how little the Queen matters, turns out she is dying right now from grief.
Oh, yeah, it could have fooled me. The movie didn't tell me.
That's the thing, Shirley. That's also happening off screen. That scene during the christening of Aurora, that's her only on-screen appearance. It's awful.
She doesn't even have any lines.
She dies off screen.
She had like 2 or 3, but your point still stands, not that much.
But you see, the king doesn't come because he's now crazy. Yeah, how do we take away Stefan's redeeming qualities? Despite that one thing he did, which was admittedly a very bad thing, but in spite of that, he arguably seems to have done much more good than bad. Let's make him cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Also, when I was watching the original, I was seeing that scene where Stefan was getting drunk as shit, including with the other king and even the bard. Do you think that I was thinking, well, you know what this scene is missing? Stefan being crazy and evil.
Yeah, I'm sorry, they made it a point that Stefan was a nice king in the original.
I mean, with a bit of an austerity, of course, but not evil. That's the point.
It's stuff like this that makes me, at the very least, on a decent way, appreciate the recent Avatar: Lesser Bender show, because while that show does have some issues here and there, overall it's a very enjoyable remake. That has some good. In fact, I will say this. I actually think it does the Blue Spirit plot better than the original. I know that's blasphemous to a lot of fans out there, but honestly, that's just how I feel.
This is still not funny, by the way.
But look at all the whimsy and wonderment and...
what is this transition?
Okay. Allow me to be more conscious. Okay, fine. Let's pretend for a moment. I'm going to pretend for a moment that this is an original movie for original characters and has nothing to do... Even on that standard, it doesn't work. Because first off, the whole montage with Stefan and Maleficent...
Oh, wait, this bit... Yep, Maleficent is trying to revoke the curse now. See, she's a good guy.
Because she loves her now, even though this wasn't earned at all.
So, movie over, right?
You showed us them having...
sorry, Shiri.
You showed us them
Just
having...
look away, please.
Like, what?
Yeah, no, I'm eating my food now in peace.
The point is, you showed us these two having two...
Let it go, let it go.
Hold on, Dej.
Thank you. I'm trying to... okay, the point is, they only had 2 conversations before this scene. Like, seriously, do you really think this is enough to make us feel Maleficent's emotional conflict right now?
But Pedro, Aurora loves her.
Thank you.
Also, I'm guessing Chernobyl. Sorry, go on.
And even those 2 conversations weren't exactly, compelling. This is the 2 main problem. First of all, if they really wanted this plot to work, it needed to be a bit longer to properly sit down and have the characters actually bond. Again, the demonstration, of course, is because Stefan and Maleficent's romance, which is rushed as fuck and completely unbelievable, rendering Maleficent's motivation basically falling flat. So the movie, even on its own merits, doesn't work.
I guess Chernobog apparently decided it was a good idea to keep on good term the wording when Maleficent did with the curse. You would think it's a type of curse that can only be revoked by the ones who casted it, but apparently not even that.
And there's not even a cancel curse for that?
No, to be fair, again, she said no power on earth could do it. Okay, that it generally has an idea, but it gets the point that, it feels like a thing that only the person who cast the thing could also remove it, but nothing else could, But no, it's not that, I guess.
I don't know how they could have done it. They wouldn't have been able to do it for, a full movie. I'm not an idea person. But if they were going to have a movie from a villain's perspective, can I just for once have it just be an hour of them cackling ridiculously, please?
I know, right? Maleficent, Cruella, It's like, no.
Actually, you guys actually. Well, I guess I can ask you this more.
When you get right down to it, that's kind of what the original movie is, because Maleficent is, for all intents and purposes, more of a main character than the actual title main character.
Although, admittedly,
I mean, more so than that. We spend most of the time with the fairies, if anything.
Yeah. You were saying to you?
I guess I can ask more detailed in this, but you guys have seen Cruella. Like,
Yes.
what do you think is the worst movie between the two? Like,
That's
I still will take this one over Cruella, because Cruella's, at least for me, Cruella's so boring, and that's when it's not being painful.
Okay. Let me put it like this to you. The motivation of Maleficent here is essentially, rape allegory, wings taken. Cruella's turn to villainy begins when Dalmatians kick her mother off a cliff.
Yeah, I know about that.
Okay.
Oh wait, you weren't protagonist here?
No, I wasn't, but I know about the movie in
Okay. Even with that stuff out of mind, it's a tough one, because Cruella definitely feels like it drags more. But I can't deny...
This movie is only 90 minutes long. Cruella is like 2 hours, I think.
Over 2 hours, but...
Over 2 hours, so I'll take this. At least this one's shorter.
Okay, I suppose that being said... Okay, that's kind of the point of Cruella. I guess at
least Maleficent's good to look at.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're not really a fan.
I will say.
Cruella still brings the camp, so I am taking that.
From what I've seen from the trailers, I guess we'll take this over the fact that it's an actual fantasy. While
I'm talking about from a visual standpoint.
50s, 70s urban piece.
Yeah. In that
visual standpoint, Cruella.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. Okay. I guess I would have to say I'm gonna give the edge to Cruella. If only because I get more entertainment out of seeing Cruella and the antagonist go at it with each other in their antics. At least that movie feels like, it's trying to be more than, just a generic good versus evil, but, the evil is really good, because to Cruella's credit, it does still try to suggest that, Cruella is becoming a villain, even though I don't buy
Pedro.
it.
Can we talk about how this movie phenomenally wastes these two actresses?
Oh, by the way, Aurora sees Maleficent as her fairy godmother.
By the way, here's Prince Stephen. Not Prince Stephen. Sorry. What was his name? There you go. Here's Prince Philip, played by Brandon Thwaites. Forgot how. I don't know how it's pronounced. My bad.
Now, if you
he's
can,
Australian.
Now, if you can believe this. Oh, by the way, yes, the fairies accidentally fed her spiders. Very funny. But yeah, no. If you can actually believe it, their relationship is even less fleshed out in this movie, despite the original being one of the infamous they didn't really speak much, but they fell in love stuff. Now, again, fairy tale, but I will say this, I do still find their relationship romantic. For the times, anyway, because believe it or not, the Disney version of Sleeping Beauty actually expanded on the relationship more than the original fairy tale, where Philip did not meet Sleeping Beauty until she's asleep, and in some versions, a bit of skeevy stuff.
In the original fairy tale, the prince literally rapes the princess.
Okay. To be fair, that's actually not the original version. That's one of the later but still early versions. But yeah, no. A lot of versions of Sleeping Beauty are infamous for the fact that the prince meets Sleeping Beauty after raping her, and it's not the kiss that awakes her in every version. Sometimes it's just the baby she has that sucks the thorn out of her thumb. But I digress.
Also,
the Disney version.
The Disney version was incredibly watered down, but he was kind of a creep in that one too.
Something I can mention later.
To be fair to the Disney version actually did expand on the relationship and make it so that they met before Aurora falls to the curse, and also did give them, again, more development than the original fairy tale is. Not much by today's standards, but by the 50s standards, that was an incredible bout of development they gave them.
I don't see how Philip in the original Disney movie was a creep. He was walking in the forest and he met Aurora by chance. That's all that happened, really.
Yeah, like, honestly, I'd sooner call the Prince from Snow White a creep than Philip.
Yeah.
Like, Philip legit just met Aurora, and then they started singing.
What exactly was it that made you think that the prince in the original Disney movie was a creep? Exactly because
He just keeps following her around like they don't know each other, and it's like, I dreamed of you the whole time. It's like, okay, freak, go away.
Well, yeah, that is true. Okay, yeah, if you take the song's lyrics literally, yeah, it kind of can.
I mean, there's the visuals too. Like, she keeps walking away from him until like the very end of the song. Like, dude, fuck off.
Okay.
Also, that
technically, sure, before the end of the song, they were actually dancing consensually with each other. But I digress.
Go on to you.
Jesus. Also, Deja, Prince Philip is played by the guy who plays Dick Grayson in the Arrowverse Titan series.
Oh no!
This movie's again, like I said, this movie's a phenomenal waste of talented actors.
That's your equivalent to Make It Blue versus Make It Pink, ladies and gentlemen.
Also, aren't the colors blue, green, red? Why is there or yellow?
Look,
I don't know.
Look, I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to do Three Stooges type of comedy. Thing is, these actresses do not excel at physical comedy. That's not what they're known for.
That's even beyond that, Pedro. The writing is just awful. Simple as that.
Also,
obviously.
They could have gotten, the best people for the kind of role, like, I don't know, Adam Bonham Carter, just to have for a meme factor. Get it? Like in the original, it's bent like that. But the writing is just so awful, but the comedy is so cringe, and these are easily the worst part of a movie.
Also, by the way, Deds, the fairy who's dressed in yellow right now, yeah, as a fairy, she's dressed in green, so I don't even know why they changed her colors to yellow for the
She's
human
not even
form.
the one if she was the one represented, vegetation type of nature, flora. It kind of would make sense as the passing of seasons, but no, it's not even that.
Oh, by the way, guys, are you ready for a liar revealed moment?
Yeah, we're doing also this.
I'll admit, this is one of the few times I'm okay with this because Maleficent's the bad guy. She should suffer the consequences for what she did.
It's still so contrived.
To be fair, the original movie also technically had a liar reveal thing with the fairies not telling Aurora who she really was, I guess.
And yet...
True, but in that one, they don't even have the second act breakup because they literally don't have time. They literally just decide to bring Aurora back in the castle that same night, and that's where Maleficent strikes.
Also, they don't need it.
Yeah, they didn't, because, okay, to Aurora's credit, despite having her dreams be shattered, she does do the mature thing and accept her responsibilities as princess. Crying, yes, but it's not like she tries to run away from it. But yeah, okay, also, another reason that this liar reveal moment doesn't bug me, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme. Maleficent doesn't even really seem to care that much. Oh, sure, yeah, she looks hurt about it, but like, well... What did you think, girl? You cursed a child. That is pretty flipping evil.
Like, she was literally a baby existing, and you put a curse on her.
And I'm and it's just one of those things where it's just like
and here's another.
The entire idea of putting Maleficent in this type of story is just so ridiculous.
And here's where we come to another problem here. The movie needs us to have stakes, while Maleficent is the protagonist. If you'll recall the original, Maleficent was the biggest obstacle to everything. Oh, by the way, yeah, Aurora just makes it back, and, yeah. Hi, Dad.
But the thing is that since King Stefan has gone crazy, it's not exactly a touching reunion. So this completely justifies, Maleficent being a better parent to her, I guess. Good Lord, what is happening in there?
God, I hate this because, again,
Like I said, it's contrived. It's so contrived, all of this.
Like, and the thing is, if you wanted to have Stefan maybe be an antagonist, this could only really work if you had him be like an anti-villain. Because, okay, I might as well get to this right here.
Charles Copley's deliverance. My God.
Also, yeah, again, so the movie needs there to be stakes, even though Maleficent has all the powers. Remember, Maleficent can teleport. Maleficent was the one who made the curse here and there, so arguably, if she wants to, she should be able to solve some things. But hey, yeah, that's a good point. Aurora would need to still prick her finger on a spinning wheel, but all the spinning wheels are gone. Now, if you'll recall in the original, Maleficent brought forth a spinning wheel for Aurora to prick her finger on.
Yeah, she conjured one.
But, if Maleficent doesn't make a spinning wheel, how's she gonna prick her finger then?
She's gonna fall into it. I don't know.
Hi.
Okay?
No,
Where
stop,
are you going?
come back.
Bye.
Hi to you too, I guess.
But be more specific.
Hey,
Okay, Maleficent, is that your solution to everything? Roofie everyone into sleep?
Like,
Did
why not-
Stefan taught you that?
Look, she's just a big fan of Poison Ivy from Batman and Robin.
It's like, hey, why not just tell him, I know where the girl is and I can take you to her and then
Also,
teleport him? Because, yes, I just
this
want
is,
to remind you, Maleficent can teleport. Why are we
Also,
wasting... Sorry.
It's technically an obvious thing. It has to be possibly obvious because of, what being a live action movie and everything. But the fact that Philip's, horse has no real personality, like in the original, is a kind of a waste. Like, you could have still make the horse do stuff like kick around, snort around to get the idea of a personality. But no, they don't even do that.
Okay, so remember...
In this case, it's the curse of an acts of its own will. Again, I guess Chernabog decides to manipulate things.
But get this, just watch. So, yeah, remember in the original, they destroyed them all. Here, some of those look intact.
Even here, they showcase that they burned, but apparently these are made of kryptonite or something, and yet they still need to reconstruct one because the others were not proper, I guess.
And yes, the curse literally reconstructs one. This is so contrived. And hey, Maleficent.
Also, that lip sync.
Hey,
Jova,
Maleficent.
The themes.
Hey.
The themes, Jova.
Well, here's a question then. What's the theme of her riding a horse when she can teleport? We've seen that she can teleport.
Well, you see, we need dramatic Shut up, Jova.
In the original, she teleported in the castle.
It's like I said. It's like in Weathering with You. It's all about the emotion, the themes,
And
logic.
she's Zorro now, I guess.
Yeah, that was a Zorro shot. Why?
Because the director is a fan of Zorro.
It's
I don't know.
a beautiful set piece.
Also, remember, Tio, not just the original. We saw that she teleported into the castle in this version, too.
Okay. All right. Now, Shiroi, time for you to make a guess.
Okay.
So, you might remember... Now, you should know the original story, so you know what breaks the spell, right?
Yes.
So, take a wild guess how we're gonna wake up Aurora.
They're not gonna do that.
Well, no.
I'm guessing Shiroi remembers...
For the happy ending, we need to wake her up somehow.
And remember, Maleficent's curse is literal, so yeah, it has to happen.
But the unfortunate thing is that Aurora and Prince Philip, again, have arguably even a less fleshed out relationship than the original, which would almost make you feel like they're setting up the kiss to fail, but no, that would be stupid.
So take a wild guess, Shiroi. Where are we going with this?
No idea. Like, the only thing that I'm thinking of right now, whenever I see him, like, the Crow just looks like he came from an early 2000s metal boy band.
Not just
Like-
that. Maybe I don't know if you noticed them, but towards the beginning of the movie, there were a couple of shots when Maleficent was growing up that really looked like those, 2007, 2008 wallpapers about being goth and everything.
Yeah.
With Maleficent in the shadow standing under the tree.
Yeah, see? The yellow one's now back in green. Also, true love does not exist. Bollocks. And yeah, I mean, he has every right to be mad. Like, his daughter is now stuck in that curse.
See,
Love is dead.
It's similar to the forms in the original. Clamp.
No.
Why aren't you clapping, Dej?
Also, assuming the king made it like
I guess
this...
it's BRB.
Assuming the king made it like this, don't you think this is a little too
No,
inconvenient?
apparently the curse actually, shaped that.
Of course, the curse. Okay, yes,
Don't
the
you know
curse. So the curse is now working against Maleficent, I guess, because these are made of iron. So, what the hell?
You figured that one out.
Again, contrivance upon contrivance to make Maleficent the good guy. Look, if you want to make a whole bad guy was the good guy was bad guy plot here, you need to think things out through rather than just do a little role switch, because then it doesn't take into account all the different factors.
And also, inevitably, the climaxes of the movies will be compared. And let me tell you, the one that we're about to get in this movie kind of pales compared to the original. And the original was technically very short in how it was handled.
But the original is considered one of Disney's greatest conflicts, even to this day.
It also helps that there's a lot of minimalism going on with very little to no dialogue. So, of course, in this we sorry, go on.
It's the classic, fight the dragon climax.
It wasn't just the dragon. There was also the escaping of Maleficent's fortress, her trying to kill him with the lightning, the thorn bush.
Oh, maybe she is Flora, I guess. Maybe that's the reason why her dress was yellow later.
Wait, are they? Because they introduced themselves.
Well, the equivalent. I'm looking at their costumes, and we seem to resemble a bit of the theming that they have.
Oh, wow. Oh, no, that they do. It's just that they have different names.
Yeah.
Alright, so I know that there's like 20 or so minutes left, but no, this is absolutely the end, guys. Like in the story, True Love's kiss will solve all. Yeah. Even though Aurora and Philip have barely shared a scene, which, again, when we get to it, I will really dissect the heck out of it. Once again, contrivance upon contrivance.
Not just that, it's also the way it's handled in general, but more on for the final thoughts.
I get it. He's awkward about this for obvious reasons.
Well, that's the thing. In general, it seems that the characters are literally pushing, well, it's not seems, but it's actually what's happening. The characters are pushing that to happen.
Which feels like it's their way of trying to personify, oh, look at how old fairy tales were forcing love like this. And look, I'm just gonna say this, Shrek 2 did that kind of commentary better, and that was, oh my god, that was released a decade before this movie.
Also had a better climax than this.
Yes. So, guys, you know how Frozen, our movie from last year, made like all the monies, and well, that showed us that true love doesn't have to come from just a love interest. Well, what if we did that again? So we
Frozen
can make
did
more
it
money.
better, just I
guess at the very least they did not turn Philip into a villain as well. I guess I would have to be glad of that.
Like, I will say this. I don't completely blame Frozen for the trend, but I'm not going to act like Frozen did not play a big factor into why suddenly, dissecting fairy tales or needing to...
just throw him out.
Yes, because you know exactly where we're going with this.
And this is why I'm sorry.
Not just that. Okay, it's not technically the fault of the movie, so don't take what I'm about to say as if it is the fault of the movie. But I'm pretty confident that the people in the marketing, or the marketing department of Disney, kept track on fan response and generally what was going on the internet, and the reaction to Frozen led to some very disturbing shit. So,
oh yes, it certainly did.
So you would think we would try to avoid that kind of thing again.
But money, Tio. Frozen made the money.
And the chart also says,
yeah. And again, as a result, not just Disney, but a lot of movies based off of fairy tales would suddenly need to make it all more empowering. And by empowering, we mean change it so that the male protagonist had little to no agency in actually helping things. This is something we even see recently in stuff like the Little Mermaid remake, sadly, but I digress. Maleficent is so sad, and I'm sorry, I gotta talk about this. The game was absolutely rigged in this story. Like, it's not just the fact that, it's the prince and the princess, but they made Philip and Aurora's relationship noticeably weaker than it was in the Disney version. And I get it. Maybe one can say, but they're critiquing the fairy tale here. Yeah, sorry, no. The character is literally called Maleficent. These are the names from the Disney versions. This is clearly meant to be a take on the Disney version. You aren't fooling anyone.
Now, in terms of message in a vacuum, I technically do not mind this. The idea that the true love does not need to come from, necessarily just a lot of interest, but someone that you repute, as a familiar figure in terms of actually family love and not actual sentimental, intimate kind of love. So on paper, it's actually not that bad. Like Jova said, however, the story has literally spun the wheel, pardon the pun, in order to make this moment contrived. And like I said, while not as impactful as Frozen, and again, it's not the fault of the movie, I want to stress that again, in the waking of that, once again, people got inspired to do terrible things with this concept.
Yeah.
Reminder that Aurora is 16.
That goes even beyond that, Shira. There's also the entire power dynamic between the two.
Yeah, like if I'm going to look at this in any kind of positive, this is like an older sister dynamic thing going on. But the internet is just full of weirdos.
But that's the thing, Shuri. Aurora doesn't see Maleficent as a sister. She sees her as her mother, her fairy godmother.
However, we cannot just end the movie now, I suppose. Huh?
No, we still got time.
Shira, you say weirdos, I say freaks of nature.
Oh no! How dare these guys want to capture the woman who cursed the baby?
I noticed it again. Why the zoom ins and zoom outs? Again, this is not the office. What are you doing?
They're doing something. Again, this was like a remnant of the. Yeah.
What my God is editing?
A lot of movies in the late 2000s and early 2010s had this problem of direction for some reason.
I think she's blacking out because
I think
not stopping there. Yeah,
here we go.
The irony is technically applying a kryptonite effect, like we said. So the biggest changes in all of this is that this technically was foreshadowed. Instead of herself, Maleficent turns Diablo into a dragon.
Because I hate that.
Because we couldn't have Maleficent herself do that.
The movie is all about, supposedly her more taking control of her life and being empowered, but for the climax, she needs to relegate her minion to do that, which, true, is technically more in character for something that Maleficent will do, because she's just, that evil, and she will do a lackey do her job for her. But for the context of this movie, it removes agency from the character.
Keep in mind, we're supposed to be rooting for the dragon that is burning these arguably innocent men in the long run.
It's the not necessarily the same as ludonarrative dissonance, but it's the same problem where you create a story where a character, Villany's character, has a force of people working for them, but technically speaking, maybe they do not share the same ideal as the person, so you're actually not sure if they're actually still to be considered the same level of culpability as the villain, or, they are actually victim in all of this, or if it's a middle ground or something.
Hey, Maleficent, can't you teleport? Oh, wait, that's right, you can. Why don't you teleport?
To be fair, the iron technically, weakens her powers. But the movie hasn't stopped being stupid, mind you.
It's not as egregious as MLP when it comes to, you can teleport.
Yeah.
After all these years, not only Maleficent's wings are still intact, but they still have autonomy of their own.
It's magic.
We don't
Wait.
have to explain shit, I guess.
Hold on,
Magic system!
and-
You have a magic system!
Oh,
This
hey,
is-
guys, we
okay,
have Lord of
this
the
is
Rings at home, did I mention?
This is a waste of a cool shot and an armor. God damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks great.
It does.
Again, it's a waste.
It's okay, Tia. We can recreate this in Dragon's Dogma too.
No,
Okay.
no, Dej. Again, I'm genuinely surprised. Considering Nomura has mentioned in the past that he actually is a bit of a fan of the live-action Disney movies, I'm surprised he still hasn't tried to do this for a Kingdom Hearts. It certainly would have Maleficent do something more than she has done in the past couple of years, I suppose.
Given
Don't
some
worry,
of the...
don't worry, she's gonna get her moment in the next arc. Don't worry.
Totally,
Every single
yeah.
game we do that, Dej.
Like, seriously, that box plot in 3 went nowhere, but I digress.
When was the last time we had to fight against her? Bird by Sleep?
Damn. Like, okay, you know what? Now's a good time for me to mention. This could have been the moment where Stefan puts all the cards on the table. Where, yes, Maleficent calls him out for what he did to her, but then Stefan reveals to her that he actually did it with her wings just to prevent anyone else from coming to try and kill her. Because keep in mind, he brought the wings, but nothing else. Ergo, and again, remember how Stefan clearly regretted doing that. This could have been a keen moment for them to not have to fight, but reconcile over the fact that Stefan did what he did to try and get the best possible outcome. Since again, under him, life for both kingdoms actually did get better. It was only Maleficent that made things worse, but... Oh,
Yes,
here we go.
The wings magically reattached to her.
Oh, by the way, as per the girl boss here, instead of having her fight in a dress, now she has a dominatrix leather outfit with pants.
That's probably because
like
the cape. That's also probably because the cape would have got in the way of the wings, possibly.
So what you're telling me is that Maleficent's body works with like Legos?
Also, if you wanted to still have
the...
if you also still wanted the dragon motif, why couldn't the wings be, properly reptilian membranes instead of being feathery?
That would have been cool. But, yeah, no, again, it is such a missed opportunity to not at least have Stefan be, a tragic villain. Again, he did what he did to Maleficent, but ultimately to save her life, because, let's be honest, if he had not taken her wings, there probably would have been tons of other people gunning for her. But instead, nope, he's just a bad guy because the movie says so.
Every time Sharto Copley has to say something, it sounds so goofy.
Yeah.
Again, this is Charlot's thing. Like he's basically, like you said, he's kind of like Red Brown, but not quite as charming.
I legit do wonder who at Disney went, oh yeah, let's get that guy from those Neil Blomkamp films to play Stefan of all things, because
also
again,
cool slow-mo shot, I guess.
Because again, Sharto Copley did not have what I would call a prominent career before this movie, and like I said, this might be the most prominent movie he's ever starred in. And time for a curb stomp.
Editing.
Because, yeah, having her
wings... There's a bit of a motion blur applied to some of his editing. I don't understand why.
But hey, we gotta do that Beauty and the Beast thing where also, the hero doesn't go forth with killing...
It's Jover, Edge.
So again, maybe now would be a time to have him calm down.
Nope. Again, gotta need the Gaston moment.
Yeah, like, I get it, Linda.
It's literally the Gaston moment.
I get it, Linda. You wrote Beauty and the Beast. I remember when you were cool. What
and
happened to you?
that's how King Stefan dies. Not even with a pained expression, it's just a mild smile, and he splats on the ground.
Yep, he dies a generic bad guy, despite, again, the potential layers to his villainy. Like, that's what I really hate about this movie. It goes on and on about, oh, there are layers to Maleficent, but then for the actual bad guy Stefan, it's like, nope, just make him a 2-bit crook, even though he clearly regretted his actions, but then suddenly he has to kill her for some reason.
In a few hours, the sun will rise.
Okay, so you just killed Aurora's father, but I doubt she'll care, so now what? Party?
Again, she didn't care about her father, she didn't care about her mother, because she did not even have much of the opportunity, but who cares? Maleficent took her in so they can fuck themselves, I guess.
Like, keep in mind, she technically helped Maleficent kill her father by freeing those wings, because...
And again,
Wait. Maleficent, if you could take down those walls, why didn't you do that before when they were slowing you down?
Again, I guess Chernobog was feeling funny that day.
Jesus.
By the way, that solo movie is apparently still in production.
And another just for Angelina Jolie.
Seriously, there's been at least 5 or 6. The merchandise must be crazy of this.
Yeah.
And the fairies are once again on Maleficent's side, I guess. And yet, amazingly, this does not cause a war between humans and fairies. Because instead, Aurora is going to be crowned Queen of both kingdoms. Hooray!
Yes.
Shouldn't there be humans also to enjoy this too? Or I guess they just accepted the news? Yeah, your king's dead, but his daughter's back. Yes, that's right. The story was being told to us by Aurora.
Okay, then.
I saw Bridge to Terabithia too. Sucks.
Why did you do that? Because God damns you in hell or something?
No. I think I was brought by my parents to see it back when we... Wait, no. Actually, I don't know.
I mean,
if
I
saw it
don't
in
blame you.
theaters.
When I wanted to watch The Incredibles in theater, my parents instead dragged me to see Shall We Dance. That was awful.
No, she was not both hero and
Shut
villain.
the fuck up, movie.
Like, she did one villainistic thing, and the movie was constantly patting her on the back for all her heroics. Like, this movie, even if Maleficent had ended up the hero, if they had at least done more stuff with her being a villain, I would not have called BS to this level, but here we are. And fun fact, the sequel was literally called Maleficent, Mistress of Evil.
And by the way, there's also a third one coming by the time we're recording this.
Is that actually?
Apparently, yes, Shiroi.
Oh.
By the time we
According
did
to
the
Julie,
first
yeah.
generation, Mistress of Evil was not yet released. So, and again, I still haven't seen it, so we'll have to see. Also, small anecdote that I did mention in the original commentary, but I thought it was more opportune to wait until the movie's over to mention. The first time that I watched this, I was not in theater, thankfully. I just watched it when it leaked on the internet eventually, not too long after. I don't remember what I had eaten that day for lunch. Maybe it was canned meat or something. But basically, right as I was watching the movie, probably because of what I ate, I was actually feeling stomach cramps and everything. So basically, I have a sort of a Pavlovian association of this movie and me being sick.
Beautiful.
So there is that, technically. Anyway, no post-credit scene, so for the time being, Maleficent won't be invited to the Kingdom Hearts initiative. Live-action Maleficent, that is. So first, the newcomers, I suppose. Dej?
Well, that was certainly a movie.
That was absolutely a movie.
A complete waste of everyone's talents and effort.
I'm curious how much this is getting.
It didn't offend me, it didn't anger me, it bored me. So, like, a 5 for every
Yeah.
Probably the definition of mid.
Okay, then.
I do wonder how much of that is the fact that you're seeing this well after the fact has passed, because I assure you, when this movie came out, people were pissed. But it made money, so that's why we got a sequel.
Why did this get a sequel? And why are they making a third one?
Because
Money.
it made money.
We've got to have money.
Okay.
Actually, let me check in advance how much.
Insert the Tom and Jerry song here.
Yes, the sequel did still make a technical profit, but not as much. It costed 186 million and only did 492, so way less than this. Also, Pedro, just for a small thing to mention, I was checking right now. You mentioned about Maleficent costume, about how it was not particularly fitting and the headpiece and everything. The movie did won the Academy Award for Best Costume Designs, actually, the year this was in 2014.
Which is baffling to me because the Maleficent outfit would be a great outfit if it was an outfit made by a cosplayer for a con, not in a multi-million-dollar movie.
Let me check for record what was the competition. Sound mixing, no. Production design. There you go. I know, actually, it was only nominated. My bad.
But then again, remember, Taylor, this is the same Academy that gave the special gave a Suicide Squad an Academy
Best
Award
makeup.
for best makeup, even though Star Trek Beyond was right there next to it. Just saying.
Okay, I was wrong. It only got nominated. The one bad one was the Great Budapest Hotel, which, to be fair, it kind of deserves
So,
it.
do you think?
I still don't think it should get a nomination either.
The other nominees were Inherent Vice, Mr. Turner, and Into the Woods. So
Do you think
not that much?
Do you think the look would have been completed if her skin was green? Maybe.
Pedro?
No, see, I'm talking about the costume, not makeup, though.
Oh, I get that, but I wonder if maybe it clashes a bit because her skin isn't green. Like, not to say
it's not just the green skin. It's just it's the fact that the outfit doesn't even remotely feel like a proper live action translation of the original outfit. Like,
really?
Like, for example, why does she have a little thing like for, I don't know. There's just the way the feels cheaply made. I guess it's the best way I can put it. Like it feels it doesn't feel like it doesn't, like, for example, it should be very thin in its texture in particular. Like, they should try to emulate how it actually looked in the fucking cartoon.
I feel like they were going for that, but I
don't know.
Anyway, anything else, Dej?
Nope.
Well, okay, Shiroi, you're the other newcomer. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, that just kind of happened. I mean, if it's true that they advertised it as a take on the original Disney movie specifically, then yeah, this is pretty bad. And if it wasn't advertised that way, it's pretty mid, as Deji says. It depends on how you want to look at it. But again, I hate the fact that there's no color in these remakes whatsoever, because like the original movie was fairly muted, but there was plenty of color to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like the more quote unquote realistic take these remakes go for. Like, it's still like, it's live action, but it's also still a fairy tale at the end of the day. So, but at least Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland remembered that a little bit.
Also, Shiroi, this was a year after Man of Steel. We had no chance.
Oh. I don't know. Like, just keep your maniacal villains as maniacal villains, please. Like, they're fun that way. That's how people remember them. You don't need to have multi-layered sympathetic villains are good. But, sometimes we just need the complete assholes, and that's what she was. She was petty, vindictive, and we didn't really get a lot of that here. So, this is not a good movie.
Nope.
And that's it.
All right, Pedro.
It sucks. Do you need anything more? The story, even on its own merits, doesn't work because it's rushed, and the overall Linda's script is not particularly good.
What happened
it's
to
just-
her?
I'm starting to really think that this is one of those cases where she works better when she has good idea good idea people guiding her into writing a good script, because I get the feeling like because this is a really bad idea and she herself is not like capable of saving a bad idea. Like that's the basic gist of it. Like I get the feeling it's more one of those cases where she's a script writer in every meaning of the word, meaning she really needs a good idea and a good project with good leadership to properly succeed. That's the feeling I get, because literally every time she hasn't had that, it's always turned out a bad product. Like even her script writing, even in a vacuum, usually is not good on a lot of these projects. That being said, like the plot is rushed. The actors, all of the actors, are phenomenally wasted. The music is whatever. The visuals look and it's just not particularly engaging, really, because it's also unfunny. It's just like it's such a bad, soulless piece of shit. So yeah, that's it.
Java.
Whew, boy. 3 times have we looked at this movie. Like, the only way I could say that this movie's gotten better with time is the idea that there are now worse things to compare it to, but in its own right, it is a disgustingly deceptive movie that was marketed, and I definitely remember clear as day marketing that was saying this was going to be Sleeping Beauty, but with Maleficent as the main focus and perspective shift. And yes, Maleficent is the main character, but holy cow, the bends that this movie goes through to justify her as the good guy. Again, we had seen this sort of stuff done before, arguably as early as Shrek. Heck, in some regards, I recall even Disney did some things where, the bad guys aren't, the actual bad guys here or there. Heck, Once Upon a Time arguably did a better version of a good guy Maleficent. So, the concept wasn't impossible. But with these specific parameters, they needed to handle this carefully. They didn't. I'm sorry. You had chance after chance to give Stefan more to his character than just generic bad guy to make us like Maleficent. Again, a character who pettily still curses a child. Come on. It's so bad that they have to even alter how the curse works because, God forbid, one of the fairies do anything nice. It is one of the most frustrating revisions. And you know what? The thing is, if this were portrayed as, something that's clearly, I don't want to say parody, but something we're not supposed to take as seriously, then okay, maybe it could be more digestible, but no, it was clearly something they wanted to take more seriously, not helped by the fact that, for a long time, Angelina Jolie's version of Maleficent became kind of the trademark version of Maleficent. She was Maleficent's representation in Disney Infinity. Other bouts regarding Maleficent were pretty much using the pale skin version, essentially. No, that was the face of Maleficent they were going with. This wasn't helped how they would later announce that they were going to do other projects focused on villains, or, again, also trying to make villains more sympathetic, even if it didn't work in the writing department.
You guys have seen the Guy Ritchie version of Aladdin. How is Jafar in that one?
Oh boy. Okay. They tried.
The only good thing in that movie is the genie played by Will Smith. Literally everything else is crap.
Let me put it like this: they tried to give Jafar more layers, giving him a backstory about how he used to be a thief like Aladdin. And oh my god, while they try to make him not so obviously evil, they take away the charm and ham that the original actor gave Jafar in the original. He's no longer deliciously evil, now he's motivated by war tactics, because he really wants to go to war with this place and supposedly is doing it for the greater good.
If I could put it simply, his entire demeanor in the movie can be summed up as he's just standing there menacingly, and he doesn't say or do much. He's just kind of there until he needs to do something.
Yeah, like, on the one hand, he's not cartoonishly evil. On the other hand, he's not even entertainingly evil. And, yeah, Cruella. Need I say anything more than they try to justify her actions by having Dalmatians kick her mother off a cliff? Good lord.
That's funny.
Oh yes, it's funny. Shame they wanted us to take that seriously, though. Like, and you know, again, that brings me back to Maleficent. If they did not want us to take this take so gosh darn serious, like, clearly this was meant to be tongue-in-cheek, again, say maybe something like Shrek, maybe it would have been much more easier to digest, or heck, maybe even making an account of Maleficent giving an obviously biased account here or there of the events. It's just... No. And like I said, I think the thing that really bugs me about Maleficent is that, yeah, in a lot of ways, some of the bad film eras like The Girl Boss, the making villains sympathetic instead of memorable trend here, the fairy tales are so outdated, this is how they should really go thing, a lot of that, as a trend, can be trailed back to this movie. And you know, the annoying thing is, because it made money, a lot of the criticism was ignored, essentially, because it was clear people did not like this, but since there was a casual enough audience to make money off of, Disney didn't care. One of many things they're probably regretting now, since Disney are... Okay, they're not in danger of going bankrupt, but they're apparently in a not-so-great financial spot to the point where they might be forced to have a corporate takeover. But I digress. Maleficent. It just isn't good. It's not funny, even. And the action sucks. It pales in comparison to the old movie from the 50s, which had way more...
And this is a movie that has, like, dragons, mind you. How do you make it boring?
Yeah. I think part of the issue is that in trying to make Maleficent more of a hero, they take away a lot of her agency as a villain, including the awesome dragon bit. And mind you, despite Maleficent having all these powers that could help solve the plot easier, she conveniently doesn't use them. Like, hey, Maleficent, maybe taking down that wall earlier could have helped. Or what, were you not able to do that because you were missing your wings? Because, yeah, that one scene implies that she gets a power-up from getting her wings back. Which, yeah, the wings just reattach themselves because they're alive. To which I ask, why didn't they ever do that before?
You know, Jova, this reminds me. You know how everyone is falling into the meme of editing Cerveza Crystal into movies these days?
Yeah.
You know, they should have done something similar to this, but with Red Bull instead.
Beautiful, because Red Bull gives you wings. But I mean, holy cow, this movie, it may not be the worst movie I've ever seen, but I feel like it's definitely one of the most impactful bad movies I've seen for a lot of the bad trends that it followed and would help sprout into something much more ugly in the film industry to get through. And, of course, get through message after message on why this has to be that way, or, oh, it's outdated, let's update it to this. Never mind the fact that by supposedly updating it, you make it more boring. But,
Yep.
At the end of the day, this movie is, well, it's an affront to the name Maleficent. I'm pretty sure the actual Maleficent would be ashamed by this. And, well, given the implication that Kingdom Hearts 4 may or may not center around live-action remakes, oh god, imagine if Nomura actually does work in... You see, then the good guy Maleficent helps soar against the bad guy Maleficent. Look, at the end of the day, this movie's bad. It misled people. It hurt people. I don't like it. I don't like what it generated. But goddamn, we had to live with it. And then eventually came the sequel, which may be better or worse. that'll be a story for another day. This movie sucks. Tio, close us out with your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't remember what were my thoughts in the generations that we did, so let me start from scratch. This is, at its core, it's just a mess. There is an idea of what a story could be centered around, trying to play around with the foundation of these characters, but it's done in such a way that it really pleases no one when you get down to it, because fans of the original definitely won't be. Fans who look forward to a story about, female empowerment, sure, they might find some degree here, but a lot of other elements seem contradicting to it. And I don't mean in the case that, it's not because it's not 24/7, therefore it invalidates it. No, some key moments feel like they deliberately want to go in a direction, but then move to another, illogically, just to either force conflict, or because, the script says so. It really does feel a bit like some producer, well, the one producer maybe, stumbled in and ordered like a rewrite at some point. Because in a couple of places, it really feels like there's this kind of contrivance, particularly in the climax. I will say the positives that I do personally regard of the movie: the aesthetic for the most part, and the costume design as a whole. There is stuff that can be said about Maleficent's design, as Pedro also and Jova noted. But I will say the costume design for everyone else in the movie, particularly the armors for Stefan and his, in his army, they are spot on. You can definitely see the same. You can definitely see the same production value that the Narnia movies had, and it's probably why this movie costed more than 200 million to make. Much like Prince Caspian when you get down to it. These special effects also are fine for the most part. Some of the CGI creatures are a bit more, dated in terms of design than others in terms of, looking less, proper when they did back then. And like I said, the shrunk version of the Three Fairies is just an Uncanny Valley nightmare. That's just awful. Throw that away and start from scratch on that. But otherwise, they don't look too bad. The fire effects, the particles, the constructs, like the tree golems, for example, the ant lookalikes. There is good stuff. The score, like I said, is just there. It's not offensive or that bad, but it's forgettable. Like, I cannot even begin to think what was Maleficent's, leitmotif in this, Not that the original, like Pedro said, was cheating using the ballet, but because of that, there wasn't a uniform type of music outside of one of the songs, I Know You. But other than that, there are still memorable pieces, like the one at the beginning where Maleficent teleports away and the score goes full bombastic. That one is immediately memorable, comes immediately to mind because of the striking visuals. In this, it's just a thing. And as much as sacrilegious it might have been, and not even that, but in the sense of as a generic statement, I could copy paste that into Man of Steel, and it probably would be the same.
It really does show that every now and then, when there's a trend among films, you really do notice that, especially
I think I don't remember if it was Deji that retweeted it recently or someone else one of the artists that I follow, but someone made a post about when you really get down to it, the 2010s as a whole were just basically misery porn, where icons were treated with the idea of deconstruction, but because of the people in charge or miscommunication, the end results were just these awful products that just felt depressing for everyone involved.
That's one thing the 2010s will definitely be remembered for, that, and also how, in hindsight, it really feels like the 2010s was really trying to press the envelope of how things could get with supposedly being more mature in that regard.
We're still not done out of that yet. Just look at, Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, for an example. But
thankfully that game was bombing, so...
Yeah, it's thankfully a lot less prominent, and yeah, those kind of products are now getting the blast that I would argue that they deserve for that kind of stuff. But yeah,
my point being, this was caught in the crossfire between that, and unfortunately, it shows. Because again, when I think the story on paper, the very bare bone, probably would be, despite, like I said, be super fanficky, probably could work things out. Turns out Maleficent, grew up in a community of other fairies, so she wasn't evil from the beginning. Something traumatic happened in her life that scarred her permanently and made her turn evil as a result. But maybe, just maybe she can find herself, but the inner strength and your peace of mind to understand her own self and realize, that revenge and evil might not be the path. That's not too bad of an idea for having a Maleficent movie that wants to be different from the original when you get down to it. It will still be, like I said, that kind of different, but it probably would have a better structure than what we got in this, especially also given by the performance of the actor. Ideally, only Angelina really stands out. Again, I'm sorry for Aurora's actress, but this is not a good, representation of her pedigree.
No, watch the parade instead.
It's like I asked, why Elle Fanning? It doesn't feel like they really used
this was,
her.
if I recall correctly, it was early in her career. But also, Dej, have you seen the Titan show? Just for asking for reference, how is Prince Philip's, actor in that? Okay,
Dej, do you know what happens with Nightwing in that show?
Oh God, I dare to ask.
Well, Tio, I'm surprised you don't remember the infamous "fuck Batman" line.
I know so little of the Arrowverse, actually, Trova, outside
it's
of
technically another universe.
Aside from some memes like Demi Barry, but
to be fair, it's not part of the Arrowverse, the Titan show. It's a pretty bad show. Let's see. Most of the times we can't show most of the powers due to limited budget. Beast Boy can turn into one or two animals, because again, limited budget. The best fight scenes arguably come from Robin, aka, Dick Grayson, essentially. But, well, he spends half the show not really wanting to be Robin or Nightwing, because we gotta do that old typical thing, and Look, long story short, Titans was not a good show. Let me put it like this. You know how people complain about Teen Titans Go being too comedic? Titans was the exact opposite problem. Way too up its own ass and how serious it was.
Oh, by the way, there's a tweet.
Thank you, Edge. But again, that's what I was gathering for the actors, because and the cherry on top, the appropriate crown has to go to Sharlto Copley. I seriously hope that this guy has a good performance under his resume, because so far I haven't seen anything that would be considered substantial on that front. But then again, it's just a testament that I really need to catch up on those Neil Blomkamp movies and see for myself what the fuss is about. Again, there's not too much else that I probably haven't mentioned already, because again, the Free Fairies are turned into, comic relief that are awful, just really cringe. When you get down to it, it really gives the idea that someone, probably Lee Miranda, I guess, since she's a screenwriter, watched the original and hated the Free. Because that really feels the only explanation of why they're Flanderized this way and they're made them so unlikable, even as a deconstruction of them, to say, oh, in the original they did mistakes and accidentally revealed the location, so that means they're completely stupid and don't know how to raise a child because that's quote-unquote realistic, I guess. I don't know. Something just feels inherently wrong. Same goes for treating Aurora's biological mother in the poorest way possible. Jeez, it's so bad. I haven't seen yet Mistress of Evil, and I know that it's not the case. But I wouldn't have be surprised if the twist in that was that the villain in that movie was Aurora's biological mother, that instead of dying was transferred somewhere else, in retcon like that, and she vowed revenge because of that. Because honestly, it would have made way too much sense.
Okay, Tio, Yeah, that's not the actual answer, but in a way, you are close.
Yeah, speaking of which, again, instead of turning Stefan into, villain, again, Philip gets the shaft in terms of, personality and script to turn into a buffoon, and we don't even get to see his father. Why? Again, one of the more entertaining scenes of your original is just seeing Stefan and the other king fucking around at the table and drinking wine. Like,
Well,
why
Gio,
can't we have that?
well, we can't have funny haha moments that, don't come at the expense of characters opposite of Maleficent, because, again, only Maleficent should have the most happiest moments, even though she's supposed to be the most miserable character in the movie.
And yeah, let's talk about the climax. The movie literally wants to make a point of forcing both Aurora into the cursed condition and Philip into the role predestined by the original tale, and making a point of telling this is wrong, this cannot work, it needs to be worked in a different way. This is an agenda, nothing, it's pure and simple as that. And look, if it was a critique of that particular fairy tale aspect we talked about, where the sleep rape happens, yes, absolutely, you should criticize that and tell that it's a bad thing. That was done only as a PSA against horrible things that were happening in medieval times. But in comparison with the 50s movie, it really feels a disservice to one of the best climaxes of Disney's history. This is just insipid. That's the best word I can describe it. It's insipid. It's not even just fuming rage bad. It's just insipid.
Like, when it first came out, I felt burning rage, but now that time has passed, it really does feel pathetic.
And again, that's not to say the awful things it rippled effect on the internet, but as I made a point to mention, that's technically not the fault of the movie, but people reacting to that. So I won't make the movie culpable of that. It's just that I thought that the people in marketing at Disney, caught of being aware of what was happening with Frozen, was like, maybe we should, frame it in a different way, but I guess they stuck to their guns, I suppose. But anyway, that's kind of it. Like I said, the only very good thing that I mentioned that stands out is Angelina Jolie being cast for a role. Hey, really, for the time being, I probably wouldn't see anyone in the other way. I don't know, maybe Lady Gaga, I guess. Who knows? Maybe in the future a new version will happen with a different, a different actress that possibly fits the role even better, for all I know. For the time being, this has been our April Fool's and also an occasion to celebrate properly once again our 10th anniversary, a continuation of things, During the month of April is back to Shira's birthday, and as usual, our round of generation stuff as we continue more revisitation towards our past to, iron things out. But for the time being, tune in eventually. We don't know what happened, when it will happen, but, eventually, I suppose. For the sequel, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. See ya.
See you then.
See ya.
Yeah.